All right, now we're starting back up again. I'm doing this whole video, man. I want to hear this dude's thoughts, and I want to give as much as I can. And the reason why I talk a lot in these videos is because I'm not trying to get hit up with no copyright strikes or anything. I'm trying to talk as much as I possibly can and stop in the video as much as I can, so that way I can, give my opinion on things, and I ain't gonna have no problems. I am working on getting a webcam. I'm not, or like a cam or whatever, but nothing too crazy. I'm not really interested in putting my face out there. I'm an introvert, man. Like I'm not. I'm a very introverted person. I mean, this is to the extent that I felt comfortable. It's just talking to nobody, putting my opinions out there. A few people watch it, whatever, and as long as I get it out there, it's not in my head anymore. But let's go. Oh, Jesus. Let's rewind. I had the sound off.
For a championship contender. Maybe one of them has to go. The struggles of Tatum have been especially profound. It actually correlates with his increased isolation rate as well.
That's what I'm saying. And it's not profound. It's not like something that's like, oh my God, why is Jason Tatum not playing? I don't understand. We're so used to watching this kid be great. What is the problem with this is, and this is the reason why people are so perplexed of why, like, Jason Tatum is having these lulls in his performance, is because they're looking at him like he's a superstar, and he's not a superstar. He's a star. He's not a superstar. This is not a guy that's won championships. This is not a guy that's won MVPs. This is not a guy that's been to like at least 7 All-Star games. This is not that guy. He's not a guy that you putting on Wheaties boxes yet. I mean, he's got his own potato chips, but potato chips is a far cry from having your own cereal. But he's not that guy yet. At some point, he will be, but he's not that guy yet. So it's not astronomically confusing why he's having these low periods. But I'm glad that he said it, because that's what I said. Jason Tatum has a problem with iso balling. You know where he learned that from? Kobe. Kobe. Kobe is a hero ball player. What is hero ball? It's a form of basketball that was popularized by Michael Jordan, where you are the focal point of the offense. You have the ball in your hands. You're going up like you're fucking Superman, going over like 4 people, and you're finishing at the rim. When little kids see you do that, they think, okay, this is how the game is played. Just like when LeBron got to the league and he started doing his virtuoso stuff, where he's passing the ball, rebounding the ball, scoring the ball. Now, most players growing up watching him, they see that, they imitate that. Look at Curry. Curry's the new wave now. Now players, everybody wants to shoot the 3 ball. Everybody want to shoot about 15 to 23 pointers a game. It's whoever whoever is taking over the game at that point in time when kids are growing up, that is the future. Look at the most popular player at that point in time, or the most popular, not the best, the most popular, and the way they play, and that's the way the game will trend.
Looking at his ISO metrics for the last few seasons, it's steadily increasing. From 12.8% to 15.8 to 18.6 to 19.3. Now, nearly 1/5 of his shots come from ISOs. That's 7th in the NBA, and he's the least efficient in the top 7, hitting just 37.6% of his shots, and has the worst effective field goal percentage as well.
You know why? Because it's dumb basketball. Okay? Not everybody is Michael Jordan. Kobe didn't understand that. Kobe was a phenomenal player. but he wasn't the smartest decision maker. He took very bad shots. He alienated his teammates constantly. It took the only way this dude could win was having Phil Jackson there to tell him, "Hey, listen, pass the fucking ball. This is not the Kobe show. This is the Lakers. It's not the Kobe show." It's the same thing he had to do to Michael Jordan. This is why Michael Jordan couldn't win until Phil got there. Because Phil had to break him out of that. You're not a superhero. You can't do it all by yourself. You need to trust your teammates. You need to get your teammates involved. You need to move the ball. They invented the triangle offense, unless it was invented before them. But they implemented the triangle offense to keep the ball moving in a particular fashion, but the ball is always moving from from like the wing corner areas to the top of the key. You're keeping the ball moving. You're keeping the offense moving. Michael Jordan is not standing there dribbling a shitload and then using his superior speed and athleticism to get past defenders and then jumping over everybody and finishing at the rim. Michael Jordan, this is why he's the greatest player ever. Because Michael Jordan makes stupid basketball look easy. Like, he did it so well. I don't want to say stupid. Michael was an incredible, intelligent player. But the style that is just, it's dumb basketball. And this is why you don't see ISO ball players win titles. They don't win titles. They don't win championships. And this is why the Celtics can't seem to get past the Eastern Conference Finals, is because they have a tendency to play dumb basketball. Let's go.
I'm playing with each other. More often than not, it seems like they're just taking turns doing their own thing, as opposed to
What did I say? You see what I'm saying? What did I say? Jaylen Brown, that's the way he plays. He just does whatever Jaylen Brown does. It doesn't really affect anybody else because Jaylen doesn't really make stupid plays all too often. But he'll get his shots when he want them. He'll play defense. He'll move the ball. He'll ISO ball from time to time. Like, I have seen him ISO ball. But most of the time, Jaylen Brown just does what Jaylen Brown wants to do. And most of the time, it helps the team. But, Jaylen moves in his own circles, in his mind. He moves in his own circles. He don't care about what you're talking about. So, it's just the repetitiveness of just idiotic basketball. Let's go.
Playing off one another. On one possession, Tatum would go ISO, and on the next, Brown would call a pick and roll and try to create a play. This isn't a new thing either, it's just more profound now because the Celtics are struggling, and they have a lack of options on offense.
What did Shannon... No, not Shannon Sharp. Somebody said... It was Shannon Sharp. He said, "I wouldn't accept anything in a win that I wouldn't in a loss." And then it was another quote too. Both those quotes apply, but there's another quote as well that somebody said. They said that it was damn it, I can't remember who it was. They said that winning is the ultimate band-aid because you're not focused on the mistakes when you win games as much as the triumphs. You're focused on the triumphs. You're focused on the positive stories. You're not focused so much on the negative side because the team won. It's when the losing starts. Now all these blaring issues. Oh my God, I didn't see this when they were winning. That's because they were winning. You wasn't going to notice that. You wasn't going to notice. There are times where I see the Celtics win. I'm still furious as hell because of what I'm seeing during the game. Even when they win, I'm like, ugh. Like, this easily could have went the other way. A few bad breaks, and this team could have lost. This is why I hate fans, bro. I am a fan, but I'm one of those rational, logical, objective fans. I'm not one of those. My team is the greatest, and I don't care how bad they play. They're still better than your team. All right.
This brings us to the next topic.
Please, Andy. Please, I pray to whatever God you pray to that you're gonna say they either need a facilitator. They need both. A facilitator, a big man, like a legit big man, and they need to figure out this coaching position. If Ime's the guy, Ime's the guy. They need to figure it out. But let's see what he says. I'll say if I agree with it. Maybe he's going to talk about the fact that they don't have a superstar player, which when you have a team like this, you don't need a superstar player. You need a coach that's going to teach them the right fundamentals, and then they got to go out and apply it. But let's go.
I've seen people mention that the biggest hole in the Celtics lineup is at point guard. You know, with them used to having Kyrie and Kemba before, they need a...
They're not facilitators. That is terrible examples of a point guard. And what I mean, what I think they mean, you know, by the people that he was talking about, is they need a facilitator. They need a guy that's going to set up Jaylen Brown. They need a guy that's going to set up Jason Tatum. You know, they need guys that's going to get them in their spots and get them their shots while they're in rhythm.
better point guard now, or just a better backcourt in general. However, I don't think that's the problem. The Celtics were actually better without Kyrie. Remember, they...
Sorry. The reason why they were better without Kyrie is because, one, they don't like Kyrie. And two, the problem with Kyrie is he plays dumb basketball like they do. When Kyrie was on the team, there were times I would see Kyrie, and sometimes it would work out, sometimes it didn't. There were times where I would see Kyrie dribble circles around the defender, trying to find an open shot, dribble. He'll weave his way through the defenders, and then he'll take some weird mid-range, kind of fading back mid-range shot. And sometimes he'll make it, sometimes he'll miss. Or he'll dribble, step back, shoot the three ball. That's Kyrie's game. You know, he'll pass. He'll play. The one thing I can say about Kyrie was when he was in Boston, he played better defense. I think he was one of the, like, in defensive win shares, he was one of the leaders his first year there. But, you know, he plays dumb basketball. Dumb basketball is not hard to see. Look at James Harden, look at Russell Westbrook. Dumb basketball is very easy to spot. You'll see it when you see it, and it'll make you cringe. Any real basketball fan, it will make them cringe. Like, I don't really like what I'm seeing right here. Trust me, people that know, they know what I'm talking about.
They made their best run when he was injured. Plus, Kemba, he wasn't that productive either. Now on the Knicks, he's not even that good anymore. So it's fine they didn't re-sign him. In my opinion, the player they missed the most is Gordon Hayward. He was the bridge between Tatum and Brown, the guy who filled in the void when either of them were having off nights. Hayward's time in Boston was polarizing, as fans felt he made too much money and he got injured too much too. But when he was healthy, he was fantastic, yet still overshadowed. This was...
I don't think Gordon Hayward was the right fit for this team. Like, when they first got him, I think they had a certain, like, I think Brad Stevens had a certain thing in mind, but because Hayward got hurt, and then Tatum emerged, and then Jaylen Brown started to play to what we know Jaylen Brown to be now, the landscape of the team kind of changed. So then Brad had to change along with it. I don't think Gordon Hayward fit the team the way it is now.
Most apparent in the 2019-20 season, where the Celtics were 2 games away from the NBA Finals. Hayward was such a huge part of their season, but sadly got injured for most of the playoffs. During that year, when Hayward was on the floor, the Celtics scored plus 8.8 points per 100 possessions. But the more impressive stat was that when he was on the floor without Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum, he was still plus 8.2, which indicates he could carry an offense by himself, giving
Gordon Hayward is a phenomenal scorer. I've never said I like Gordon Hayward, and he just didn't fit the team. Like, look, when you're playing in a regular season, and people don't understand it, I don't understand why people don't understand this. When you're playing in a regular season, it's easy to accumulate stats because most of the time you're playing against non-playoff teams. It's easy to rack up stats. What are the numbers in the playoffs? That's what I want to know. When you're playing the best of the best every single game, what's the numbers in? What are the numbers in the playoffs? That tells the real story. Look at James Harden. He's the perfect example. This dude dominates the regular season in Houston. Every time he gets to the playoffs, he flames out. Why? Because the playoffs are the real thing. The regular season is the dress rehearsal. That's it. It's not the show.
the young duo ample time to rest. Essentially, Hayward was the insurance policy, a consistent engine that kept the offense running, just in case Tatum and Brown are having an off night. Additionally, the Celtics routinely played all three of them together, which also worked well due to Hayward's playmaking abilities. He's always had great court awareness, probably the best on the team, which allowed the offense to flow smoothly. They don't have.
This is why Brad Stevens wanted Gordon Hayward, and I think this is why. I think the devastation of Hayward's injury impacted Stevens the most. Not because he knew the guy and they were close or whatever, but because Gordon Hayward is the style of basketball player that I'm pretty sure Brad Stevens likes. Right? He's the style of basketball player. I think this is why Brad Stevens he couldn't reach this team. He took a back seat. He got moved up to president of basketball operations. He allowed Ime Udoka to take over the head coaching spot because he couldn't get out of this team what they were looking for. Gordon Hayward was going to be, like Andy said, he was going to be the bridge between the players and him. But because Hayward eventually got moved, he got hurt. He was hurt a lot. He wasn't out there. They moved on. And plus the money was a huge problem.
That anymore. Since his departure, the Celtics still have not been able to fill this void. Back in 2020, they had the 4th highest offensive rating in the league, but that dropped to 19th.
Let me say this, though. The Boston Celtics have gotten further in the playoffs than the Hornets have. So if Gordon Hayward was really this missing piece, wouldn't he have gotten the Hornets to the playoffs at some point? Then maybe he wasn't the missing piece. You know, maybe this little deep dive into the numbers is kind of like, it's flimsy. I mean, you know, if you manipulate the numbers enough, you can make them say whatever you want them to say. But they don't tell the truth, okay? They don't tell the whole truth. Gordon Hayward just didn't fit with the team. That's the way it was. This is why they moved him. That in the contract. But if Gordon Hayward was this missing piece, the money shouldn't have mattered. There are plenty of times we see teams pay a shitload of money to a player that everybody's saying he's not worth it. Like at Chris Paul. When Chris Paul was in LA and then he went to Houston, the contract was a big problem. That's why he got shipped to OKC. Did he get shipped to OKC or did he sign there? No, he got traded. I think he got traded. I gotta go back and look. God damn it, I gotta go back and look. Let's just, for the sake of my argument, let's say he got shipped there. Okay, the contract was a big problem. It's because Chris wasn't giving them what the money warranted that he gives them. Just like Westbrook. This is why nobody wants Westbrook. Because Westbrook isn't able to give you in return what his contract says he should be able to give you in return. So if Hayward was giving his team something that they couldn't find anywhere else, why would they move him because of the money? When we've seen teams pay bad contracts to very effective players, we've seen it. Sorry.
From watching, it's clear they're missing a reliable third scorer, but also a reliable playmaker.
You don't need a third scorer. What you need is smarter basketball. You need situational awareness late in games. You need ball movement. You need team defense, smart defense. Okay, you need a coach that can draw up strategies that are so complex that they baffle the other team, that cause friction and issues for the other team. You can't just put five players out there, have them run up and down the court, and expect them to win every single game. It's not going to happen. It's more likely they will lose those games than win them.
Marcus Smart and Dennis Schroeder have got to be the most infuriating backcourt to watch. Dennis especially. For his entire career, he's always been the type of player who'd have like 3 bad games and then 1 good game. Overall,
Dennis Schroeder's ego gets in his way. All right. The reason why Marcus and Dennis struggle the way they do is because Dennis Schroeder's ego, he thinks he's the guy. And I think that was his issue I think that was the biggest problem with him being in Atlanta. He became the best player on that team. So when you're a young guy, because all these athletes think that they're the best, even the ones sitting on the bench, they think they could do the job of the starters, right? When you're a young guy, going to a bad team, you're playing well, you're the best player on the team, you pretty much take over. It's all about you. And Schroeder was good. He wasn't great. He was just good, right? This is the problem with him in LA because always thought that he should have came off the bench. I thought Schroeder would have benefited more coming off the bench, but he wanted to be a starter. And I think, from what I understand, I think that he set it up in his contract to where, hey, I'm the starter. I'm gonna be the starter as long as I'm healthy. If that's not true, then I take it back. But even if it is speculation, I believe it because it's just his personality. We even hear him talk like this sometimes. Where's brash bravado, That's his problem. Marcus Smart's problem is when Marcus was in college at Oklahoma State, man, he was the fucking man. He was the do-it-all guy. He was that guy that could finish at the rim, find his open teammates, rebound a little bit, man. He was the man, right? Then when he came to Boston, he's been trying to find that same groove. The problem is that type of shit don't work in the NBA unless you're really good at it. So Marcus spent a good portion of the 4 years or 5 years that he's been in the league trying to come to terms with the fact that he's no longer at Oklahoma State anymore. That he has to let that go and find a new version of Marcus Smart to be. And I think he found it. He's a defensive guy. He's a scrappy guy. He's a smart guy when he pays attention. But let's go.
average numbers look fine, but you gotta really observe him to see how frustrating it is. He's like the J.R. Smith of point guards. The talent is there, the skills are there, he just hasn't put it all together mentally.
No, the problem is like he has the ability. I just like he has the ability. Dennis Schroeder has the talent to be a really good two guard, but the problem is he believes too much in himself and his ability. You know, he's one of those guys that if he has a string of bad games, it's not going to phase him too much. It'll start to bother him after a while, but it's not going to phase him too much. He has one good game, and it's like I'm the fucking man, bro. Like, it's my team. That's him. That's who he is.
Dennis has had the same problems since he came into the league. He doesn't have the basketball IQ to remain a consistent threat. Marcus Smart has been their leader on defense, calling out rotations, guiding his teammates to the right spots. He's emerged as a true leader of this young team.
I'm so glad he said that. Marcus Smart is the leader of this team. I've been saying it. Marcus Smart is the leader of the Celtics. When Marcus speaks, everybody shuts up, and I'm pretty sure they listen to him.
However, he's like the opposite of Dennis. Marcus has all the intangibles, incredibly quick-witted and cerebral player. But he lacks the talent and skills to take over a game, or to force his opponents to bend to his will. He's basically been the same player for the last 5 years.
I won't say he lacks the skills because we've seen Marcus Smart have games where we're like, damn, man, why can't we get this Marcus Smart damn near every night? He has the skills. His problem is sometimes I think Marcus could be a little too aggressive. You know, I think he could be a little too forceful. Like, let's look at Game 5, for example. Late in the game, they gave up the lead. They need to figure out how to get this win, right? Marcus, in his mind, was like, I had the rebound that ended up going to Bobby Portis, and that gave them the lead. I had that rebound. I let it go. It's my fault. I have to make up for this. Boom. He's in hyper aggressive mode. Now he is adamant. He is going to get this win. And that forced them to make mistakes. If Marcus Smart, Celtics still could have lost. But if Marcus Smart would have played Marcus Smart's game that he developed since being on the Celtics, don't be Oklahoma State Marcus Smart. Be Boston Celtics Marcus Smart. And I think he would have fared better. But he was a little too aggressive. He wanted to take a little bit too much on his own shoulders, and he couldn't handle it, and it cost him the game.
If either of them had a reliable three-point shot, they'd be a much better complement to Tatum and Brown. But that's missing from both their games.
And this is why you have Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Because Smart is the starter. He doesn't need to be a knockdown three-point shooter. Marcus just needs to make heads-up plays. When he gets an open shot, you want to take it? Take it. Defend, cause disruptions, get turnovers, right? Pass. If you open, shoot. If not, get down, in the paint a little bit, bang a little bit with the big guys. Try to grab some rebounds if you can get them, and take advantage of your matchup. Marcus Smart is a very big two guard. He should be taking advantage of, or point guard, whatever you want to call him. He should be taking advantage of that matchup.
The backcourt issues have caused the Celtics to experiment with different lineups. Grant Williams has moved in and out of the lineup in place of Dennis, depending on the matchup. They go big sometimes. Overall, when he's on the floor, the Celtics' offense looks better. The team
At times. My problem with Grant Williams is he'll have one great game and then he'll disappear. I think he's a little too undersized to be playing power forward. He's been doing a great job on Giannis, though. I do have to say, but I think that he. I don't know. You need your role players to know what their job is. You need your role players to know I'm a shooter. I'm a utility guy. I rebound. I pass. Whatever the team needs me to do, I do it, and be fine with that role. Sometimes I think Grant Williams gets a little too confident, tries to take on a little bit too much responsibility, and it could completely fuck up his flow. And he'll have games where he's just completely invisible, or he's been a fucking disaster. But he's been doing pretty well in these playoffs.
Team shoots about 4% better from three-point range compared to if he was on the bench, 36.5% versus 32.6%. The reason for this is because not only is Grant a great three-point shooter himself, but his role as a stretch four gives his
Questionable.
teammates so much more space. The trio of Grant Williams, Jason Tatum, and Jaylen Brown has a plus 10.3 net rating when all of them are on the floor together.
Because they're three high energy guys, super athletic. They both are around the same size, so they can like switch on to each other's mans, and you're not really missing anything defensively, right? That was one thing about the Celtics team that was just like, this is why they could beat Golden State. Like, I remember there was a stretch where they beat Houston with Chris Paul and James Harden, and they beat Golden State. Back-to-back games kept both teams under 100 points. It was phenomenal. Because their defense, their ability to switch was unbelievable.
Their offensive rating of 119 would be first in the entire league, but sadly, this trio does not get to play together very often. Another big man that's been a critical part of their rotation is third-year center Robert Williams, the Time Lord.
Rob has developed into a pretty fine player. I don't really have many issues with his game, to be honest. I haven't really seen him play much because of the injuries, but I think he's a solid player. I was kind of concerned because when Brad Stevens was the coach, Brad Stevens didn't like playing the big men far too often. I thought Chaco Fall was a good enough player to be able to find a position on his team. But Brad didn't really like, using the bigger guys very often. He liked Daniel Tice, Al Horford, Grant Williams, the smaller dudes. I guess to make them all interchangeable, you could switch them around, and they got the athleticism. Brad Stevens was a huge small ball fan, apparently. But I've never had a problem with Robert Williams. Actually, I remember what was going on when he was drafted. I didn't know who he was, but I was like, okay, I'm seeing some pretty positive things. I was excited, and he's been phenomenal.
As a rookie, he became a meme for oversleeping and missing practices and flights, but he's become an absolute grinder. The dude is athletic, strong, fast, plays well above his height, and thrives off his own energy. He's an amazing rim runner, a great pick-and-roll finisher, and lob catcher.
And this is why this team is far more successful with Rob on the floor. He's a low post banger. Like, this dude, he blocks shots, he disrupts shots, he causes friction down low, he gets you rebounds, he's super physical. He's energetic. Those are the worst types of centers to play. The energetic athletic guys. Because they're going to give you every ounce of their energy that they can. And what I say, rebounds are mostly about position, timing, energy.
Robert's offensive arsenal is quite limited. He really can't do anything outside of catching lobs or getting putbacks.
You don't need him to. That's the problem. This is the problem with today's league. Everybody wants everybody on the floor to be able to shoot three-pointers. You don't need every player on the floor to shoot threes. They need to know what their job is, and they need to do their job. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are the guys on the team. Those are the guys you want to make sure that they're getting maximized to their fullest ability. That's it. Everybody doesn't need to be able to do everything on the floor. Everybody has a specific job to do. Just do your job.
But he excels at what he's good at. It's nice to have an explosive, athletic defensive presence, in contrast to Al Horford's more methodical approach. Williams' ability to read passing lanes is a new development this season. but it's been analyzed extensively. He's not just a big guy relying on his physical gifts. He's observant and tries to put himself in the best position on every play. It's been a steady improvement since he came in.
Wouldn't it be some shit if Robert Williams was the best draft pick in that draft that he was picked in? I got to go back to look at that draft again, but it'd be some stuff if at the end of his career he was the best player taken in that draft, because I believe he was drafted 28th, 29th overall, 26th, somewhere around there.
It's only been recently when they started getting significant playing time, and the Celtics have tried numerous lineups, but that's also led to confusion. Sometimes players would get benched even if they're playing well. That was a primary goal of Ime Udoka when he got hired.
And what did I say before? This is why Jason Tatum was struggling when Jaylen Brown was on the floor, because basketball players need rhythm to play well. It's a rhythm. It's a flow. It's like music. If your song is all over the place, it's jumping all over the place, the chords don't make any sense, the music doesn't make any sense, you have missing parts to it, it feels incomplete, it's all over the place. If there's no rhythm, nobody's going to listen to that shit. Nobody's going to like that shit. It's not going to be a good song. Same thing goes for basketball. If there's no rhythm, if there's no cohesion, if everything isn't moving smooth like jazz, man, like, it's not going to work. They need to be in rhythm. And that was the problem with Brad Stevens. It felt like he had certain things he liked, and it felt like he kept prioritizing what he wanted over what was best for the team.
He likes to experiment with different lineups, different minutes to see what works best. Overall, I'd say the Celtics still have a good team, but they've gone back to the testing phase, right smack dab in the middle of Tatum and Brown's best years.
Yeah, this video didn't age well. They're one game away. If they win this game, they're back in the Eastern Conference Finals. And I think that playing the Milwaukee Bucks is building up a certain toughness, and it's kind of holding up a mirror to them and showing them, hey, listen, we still have some flaws that we need to work out. And you never want your team to think that they're perfect. You never want your team to think that they got it all figured out, because they don't. And if they understand that and they're willing to add layers to their game and improve and keep improving over time, you're set. All right, so the video is essentially over. It's only like 40 seconds left. It was a good video. I didn't disagree with it as much as I thought I was. I thought I was going to be like, oh my God, no. Nah, I was pretty chill. But, yeah, when it comes to professional sports, it's just like cooking. The best thing you can do sometimes for a meal is give it time. I think that with everything being so fast and owners wanting things fast and the fans wanting things fast, this is why we're seeing the advancement. You know, it's like children, right? Kids are far more advanced than they were back then. Like, kids at younger age understand sarcasm. Like, when that concept wasn't even a thing broached to a little child back when I grew up. You know, like, it's not something that kids have to worry about, but they understand it. They can reenact it perfectly. You know, kids are far more advanced. It seems like this is the trend of the NBA, you know, where they want their young guys to be the guys day one. And we don't have time to sit back and wait for you to develop. You need to develop before our very eyes. You need to be great now. This is why you never hear anybody talk about LeBron's first 2 seasons in the NBA, because those were underwhelming. And, you know, they like to think about when he was able to actually contribute significantly to his organization. But it was a good video, man. It was a good video. Let me give it a like, man. I don't even know if I'm subscribed to Andy. I did watch a few of his videos. I catch him every once in a while. I don't even watch him very often. I am subscribed. It's been a while. I haven't watched the Andy Hoops video in a long time. I can't remember the last one I watched. But yeah, let me read some of these comments. As a Celtics fan, this hurts, but it also proves that a lot of fans was wrong about Grant Williams. Eh, and that's another thing that I'm learning about Boston Celtics fans. The more that I'm actually around more, is that they're very fair weather. And for anybody that doesn't understand what fair weather means, when things are going great, they're excited, they're with it. When things are going bad, they're not so with it, but extremely not so with it. Like when Boston lost Game 5 to the Milwaukee Bucks, the way they did, everybody was talking about how the series is over. Even I, at one point, was like, "Yeah, I can't see them beating Milwaukee in 2 straight games. They might still lose tomorrow." But I was never like, yeah, they're definitely gonna lose. They suck. Fair weather fans, you gotta love them. But I'm done, man. This is my first video on a computer, I believe. I can't remember if I did one before, but